So then we'll need Dave. Okay. Or three of us. Each three of us can do it. We're live. We're good. Good to go?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Jake. Looks like everybody but David is here. Sounds like he might be joining us in a little bit. Do we approve minutes first, or do you want me to add this to the agenda?
What you can do is just say that you'll be adding that Harley rake as item D under new business.
I will be adding the Harley rake under item D in new business. Approved minutes from February 24th, regular city council meeting.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Aye.
Unanimously.
Consent agenda. Approved payments and disbursements. Go through all three of them, Jake.
Yes.
Approved 2025 soft drink license renewals. And approved for professional services with David Carlson.
Move to approve consent agenda.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? John? All in favor? Aye. Unanimous. Public comment?
I have one thing. What's the right platform to discuss possibly for the Founders Days? We'd like to close off Main Street for some attractions.
Sure. Typically, we just do the street closures as just a consent agenda item towards like April. Typically.
That's so formal.
Yeah, I want to approve those as a consent agenda item, but I'm not sure. Main Street, is that always?
I mean, not
same
Main Street,
segment
I'm
that
sorry,
goes?
Kingston.
Do we always close that part? We
No.
don't usually
No.
close
We
Kingston. right?
usually just do Main Street from the lights down to the Pine.
But we would like to entertain the idea of bringing some attractions, entertainment to Kingston Street.
Sure.
So
Who's in charge of?
Well, I mean, there's a Founders Day committee that runs that, and I think Matt Schultz is the president. He's the one I talk to about it all the time.
What part of Kingston are you thinking about? The Grove?
for sure for the crowd. But I guess it would have to be from the lights to
Your building,
till
basically?
maybe my building,
Gotcha.
and then we'd like to do some free tents for some vendors to put tents in the street. I'm working with Christina Hauser on some collaborations of that, so she has some people interested in partaking in that, and then I would like to put some music in our dirty alley. So,
I think you should talk to Matt Schultz.
okay,
You know what I'm saying? Just, I'd start with those
since
guys.
he's the guy for the
Don't you think,
Founders
Jake, or
We'll
Foundation
take a
and
look too
everything.
with Kingston. The liquor store is extremely busy over that holiday. And I know in the past we've had problems even getting people just in and out of it because of so much parking downtown. So maybe as far as Kingston, maybe we go another block to the south rather than from the lights to Grove. Something we definitely need to look into.
Well, and then, so we should have a conversation with the liquor store as well. Because we have that big public parking lot in the back. You know, that people,
I think that the Founders Day committee would love to grow.
do you,
Yes, I think you should go talk to them, definitely.
okay.
Is there any concerns logistics wise about detours and stuff since?
Yeah, so
Main
Detour, I
Street's
mean,
closed too.
currently the detour on Main Street here goes down Winnebago, down south, and then it comes back up South Kingston. And I guess right now, it's always been open all the way straight through town, or down West Washington, so it's just gonna probably be a little more involved, I guess.
And so then also is Founder's Day, because I'm not always around or as familiar with it as I want to be. What days is it? Like, how many days is it? Maybe it would be just one day that we would,
Sure,
Want
yeah,
to
Friday,
do that?
Saturday, and the street closure is only on Saturday, so.
okay, so then, okay,
And Kingston, or, yeah, or the part of Main Street is shut down literally the entire day from like 10 or 9 a.m. till midnight or till the
the
evening.
band is done.
So I guess you'll have to decide, how many hours you want that portion for us to,
Right.
That maybe that wouldn't require the entire time.
Yes, I would say we don't want the entire time.
Yeah, we don't need to compete with everything they're doing.
And a different taste, a different flavor.
I think that's
Okay,
a good idea.
okay.
One, sorry.
Okay, I'll take it. On the calendar, the city calendar today, and I noticed that our city council meetings aren't on there.
Were you looking at the event calendar on the main page? Because I don't think that we maintain that one, but I will.
But it would be cool, because we want our meetings to be inclusive and to have more people be aware of it, and I think more people are looking on that event calendar, and I was like, oh, it's because I wasn't sure, do we have a meeting today or not?
Because that's the one that pops up first.
Yeah. on the-
Yeah,
on
when you
main
go to the
page.
city website, the first thing that comes up, and, because I was looking to double check on when the meeting was too.
So would it be cool to have that? Because maybe then people would be, I mean, I know it's not the most exciting event to go to, but it might just resonate with them that they're like, hey, I'm interested in this, or this is, we want to educate and attract more people, be involved and inclusive in our city and aware of what's going on and voices.
And it'd be pretty easy stuff to find out when the next one is.
It sure would.
I think, doesn't it say first and third Mondays on there? I mean,
No,
not.
because it's the second.
I'm sorry.
See, that's how you need the calendar.
There we go. Yep.
Case in point.
We thought it'd be cool if it just got on there.
Yeah, I just want to make sure, because there's one, well, I know one of those calendars too says there's live music at Elsie's every Friday. And I know that's outdated, so,
Who maintains it? Maybe we should just have a conversation with who maintains it.
well, I'm gonna find out right away in the morning.
Okay,
And I'm gonna go from there.
put your best man on it.
Right about, I should know the answer about 8:11 tomorrow morning.
Thank you.
And I am done.
Thank you very much. John, your mic is on. Okay. There you go. Now it's not working now.
There you go.
Okay.
All right, public works zoning case.
Sure. Street department, you guys have been cutting down a few bad trees, trimming, just kind of taking it as we can, it's a little soft in spots, so basically from the street. This week we've got light department trucks have boom inspections annually, and Terex used to come down and do them for us, but for the last 2 years we've had to drive to Shakopee. So we sent 2 guys up, and it was nice today we were able to purchase some signposts from MnDOT at a reduced rate, so we took a truck up and came back with some signposts to get us through for quite a few years. So they'll continue, they'll go up, one guy will go up tomorrow with another truck, bring them back, and then again on Thursday. Because Wednesday they have their mine and safety hazard training, so all the public works guys will be at that on Wednesday. Patching some potholes as they're popping up. The sweeper got brought in today and ready to roll. Probably next week here we'll start cleaning up the sand the best we can. We might be out in the woods for snow. I hope.
Ranch is next Wednesday,
Oh,
1 to 3.
okay.
But who knows?
You bet. Electric department, kind of working hand in hand on the street on a lot of that stuff, as far as tree trimming and stuff. And then in the water department, there's 3 or 4 service lines that broke this week. They're all going to be tended to either today or tomorrow. Let's see here. Down at well 8, that was our newest well that we put online 2 years ago. We got a cat backup generator with that setup, and that thing's been a pain from day one. They were finally here in January and made that thing operate like it's supposed to. When city power would cut out, it would automatically switch over, run and power everything. And the guys were down there last week to find that it blew a seal out of an oil pump and all the engine oils drained out of the whole darn machine. So
While it was running?
yep, and it goes into a shutdown and stuff. So we don't know what the damage is. Cat hasn't been here yet. Good news is it's still under warranty. They had a 5-year engine warranty on it. So hopefully it put itself in the shutdown before it did too much or any damage. And they should be here in the next 2 weeks because they'll also do a startup for the other new Cat generator that's at the wastewater plant. So hopefully we get the bugs worked out and have a good product after all here. Sewer. Craig was gone last week up to St. Cloud for his annual refresher and training, his hours to keep his A license. Last week here, Waukesha was brought in like a big Thawzall machine. They were thawing the ice out in the bottom of the tanks so that they could start dropping in submersible pumps and plug valves and some slide gates that had to be finished up. Electrician's still waiting on a few components of a CT cabinet. We'll kind of learn a little bit more here, I think, as the week or two goes on. If it comes down to where this part doesn't show up, we can start the plant up. We just prefer not to till all the proper electric components are installed. And then this week for startups, flight pumps with all the submersible pumps, they were here today. We'll drop them in. Not a whole lot of training on them, but that's our startup for the week. Other than that, I guess just kind of gearing up for spring, and before we know it, we'll be mowing lawn and stumping tree stumps and growing more grass and you name it.
You mentioned you were doing some trees. Are we still having any trouble with them emerald ash borer?
Ours are gone. All city trees are gone. Yep.
Okay, I just saw the state had some funding available.
Yeah, yep. We're pretty much to the point where a lot of our boulevard trees, which are mostly them red maples or variegated maples, we're seeing a lot of those split, especially this winter. I think just cold moisture, a lot of freeze thaw cycles. So we've got probably 150 of those that we're gonna just keep picking away at, try to leave the ones as long as we can. Good news is our tree supplier that we typically use for a shade tree program, they're up in Newport, Minnesota. They moved all their hardwood stock out west and they decided to bring it back this year. So we'll definitely look at either bringing the shade tree program this spring yet, or at least buying some replacement trees for our city park areas. They always have very high quality, good sized starter trees at a good value. Other than that, zoning continues to pick up. Permits coming in. We got 3 hearings next week at our planning commission. Another one for the next month already come in for an addition on a property. I guess those are all good signs of some growth here in town. That's what I got for you guys.
Awesome. Jake?
I'll keep it brief. The training that I was supposed to go to on last Wednesday was canceled for weather, and I'll be at that this Wednesday. Thursday, a representative from the Southern Minnesota Initiative Foundation, a group that we've worked with quite a bit in the past, and our REV program is sponsored through them. It's kind of their director of philanthropy is coming here on Thursday to meet with me just to kind of talk about what Smith has done, what they're planning to do, and what's kind of coming in the future. So I'm excited for that meeting. Like Casey said, we have 3 zoning hearings and then the ordinance hearing on planning Monday nights. We expect a pretty well attended, hopefully a busy meeting. And then from consent agenda there, we have David Carlson starting on Wednesday as well. He's our entrepreneurial navigator, somebody with a grant funded position to help us reach out to the businesses and help support the Chamber of Commerce, help support the EDA, and with his experience, help support me as well in a lot of things that he knows really well that we're working on. And then last week I submitted a letter of intent to apply for the Tier 2 Greater Minnesota Housing Infrastructure Grant, and that's something I've mentioned before, just to allow us to potentially push out some infrastructure for housing development, which this is the first grant of its kind. It's something that we want to get and do well, so that way they keep doing this. And then I did reach out this morning to Phil Kern, who is the city administrator at Delano, who holds a lot of strategic planning workshops, a lot of vision setting workshops, somebody I've worked with in the past, who is very good for something that we've been discussing about kind of, well, like I said, a strategic planning or a goal setting workshop, something where city staff, city council, and other shareholders can get together and talk about, what we've done, where we're going, and all that. potentially set an emission statement, things like that. I think that we could all benefit from. That's it.
Perfect. Do we need to welcome David to the meeting?
I've got it in the record.
Got it in the record? All right. We appreciate you being here, buddy. New business, City Day on the Hill recap.
So last Thursday, I went to St. Paul for City Day on the Hill. It's an annual event that the League of Minnesota Cities puts on. They invite us all. Usually ends up being a pretty consequential day, just as far as we get to hear from. And so we heard from the governor, or Mayor of St. Paul, who I followed up with him and talked to him quite a bit later. He's a very interesting guy. But we heard from the governor, and then there was a leaders panel with some senators and representatives. I was there. The first thing I was there to listen to is if the strife in the Senate had calmed down, and they said that they are over their spat from the start of the legislative session, and now they're working together, which is really good. They did talk about local option sales tax a little bit, which I'm told is it's just part of the local sales tax now. Some interesting headway on that is that the bill that was on the table last year is moving forward, so that would allow us to go for these local sales taxes without getting a full bill sponsored from either a representative or senator and then passed in both houses. Now it would just be that if it fits the category, we can just take it directly to voters and voters in the city. But the league and then us, our request too was to get that those categories expanded, because it doesn't include public safety and it doesn't include other certain infrastructure things that we would imagine that a local sales tax would be used for. And then there's a whole host of other legislative priorities.
I'm sorry, Jake, back to sales tax. Are they still talking about sharing it?
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. So another thing that's in that bill is that if we were to get a sales tax, we would have to share it with neighboring municipalities. I don't understand what the share would be, and I don't understand why. I think it's kind of it's the idea is that if we're going to do, I think that it's rooted in the metro, where these, where if the small town like Lauderdale in the cities puts up a community center, it's not just going to be just them that's going to use it. And so maybe that's the idea, but we're strongly against that and have said so. There was no bonding bill last year. We weren't in a bonding bill and don't have what are considered a bondable project at the moment, but the bonding bill is one of the biggest things that anybody cares about, just because it's the biggest expenditure of any funds or for capital projects and all that. So a lot of cities are waiting on that. There's a lot of projects that are held up and have been for 3 years. On the election side, there's just a more discussion about what devices that polling places are going to use, if we're going to be going to just a paperless route, all those types of things. But the only thing that we're concerned about as far as that goes is just making sure that if they tell us what we're going to do, then we have to be paid to use that. Whatever technology is being required, we need to be compensated to do so. The Emerald Ash Borer, I only bring up because you mentioned it. Remember, because we are identified as a 0 to 10% ash tree city, so we're not actually allowed to apply for that funding. So they know our game. The EMS bill is a really interesting one. There was about 3 options that were being floated for the last year, and the one that rose to the top, that's the preference of the groups that we belong to, is this bill that would essentially open up a grant program. And if your ambulance system is in the red, if you're experiencing budget shortfall, you would apply for a grant for that difference to make you whole. I don't really see that as a sustainable way forward. It just seems kind of like, why would we not just record a $400,000 loss right away? So that one needs some tweaking. And I believe that treats symptoms, not the cause. And so I think they need to ask some ambulance directors around the state why they're losing money, and not just, how to fix it on paper. And then the housing, there is a lot of talk at the State House just about different housing programs, different ways to fund. But I want to bring up, just like last year, a lot of the bills that are about housing are, let's see this. They're meant to be pro-housing. They're meant to be for making housing more affordable, but all that they really do is erode our ability to maintain our zoning code. And they tell us where we could put, zoning is our ability and our power and our authority to say what goes where. And this, there's a number of bills that are on the docket that are being talked about. Every one of them, so the Minnesota Starter Home Act, More Homes, Right Places Act, Transforming Main Street Act, preemption of let's see, this one doesn't have a name yet. And then the Senate Housing and Homeless Prevention Committee is advancing this one, tomorrow, that's why it doesn't have a name yet, for a prohibition on minimum parking requirements. And what these all do is, in some way or another, they eliminate single-family zoning. So we would have to allow at least 2 units on any single-family lot, or we'd have to allow multifamily on any lot, and we would have to allow multifamily construction in every single zone, including commercial zone. And right now we have our downtown is zoned in a way that you can't have a residence on the first floor. It's got to be a commercial activity. We would lose that ability, and we wouldn't be able to say that anymore. So last year, this was called the Missing Middle the Missing Middle Act, which was again designed to promote more multifamily housing. And I think that's great. I think that a lot of places need multifamily housing, but telling us that we cannot zone it is not something that we're going to support. It's just a preclusion of the city's rights that are central to the point of being a city. So we expect that the League and the Coalition of Greater Minnesota Cities and every other group that we belong to will fight that as much as they can.
Is the idea, Jake, why they're pushing that? Is that more for Metro?
Yeah, I mean, it's for the Metro. And so I would call it like you're in the 7-county Metro, you've got so much urban areas, and then you have those suburbs in the first ring suburbs and now the second ring suburbs that all basically, once the city comes to meet you, then your town starts saying, well, we want to preserve our rural character, we want to preserve our single family homes and things like that. And so it ends up being a fight between the Metropolitan Council and that city, forcing them to expand. They say we don't want to, and then the Supreme Court gets involved. But so if you preclude, because cities have that ability, you can zone the entire town single family, and we'll say this, all we're ever going to do is single family homes in this town, and then nobody else can tell you otherwise. And so this is a legislative kind of intercession where the idea would be to make it so that the code allows growth in every municipality, and that a city can't block anything, but it's aggressively focused on multifamily, and that's not our reality. So trying to make us change our entire zoning code to benefit a use that is not nearly as popular as a single family home is just would not be good. And then, the ability, like I said, that for prohibiting residences on the first floor in downtown is something that's central to keeping downtown like it is. It's, to making it a hub of commercial activity, but we have requests every single month for people that want to buy properties for sale and turn their first floor into apartments, and that's something that is a real issue in this town. And so if the ability to say no to that, if the ability to keep a handle on keeping downtown, if that goes away, that changes the way that we do business quite a bit. So something that I will always be always fighting for the city's, what do you call it, the independence and our right to tell our, right to run our own business. So I'll keep a very close eye on that. And the League too, the League's Daniel Lightfoot is a League's lawyer on housing and zoning issues, and he's very passionate about this stuff. So we got a good one on our side. And then couple more I want to touch on. The sales tax exemption on construction materials already exists. They just want to streamline it. So for instance, our project, the materials are tax free, but you have to apply for a sales tax exemption on every single kind of material that you buy. It's not a huge hindrance. It's just something that should already be there. It's something that makes sense. And then the transportation funding, I found out on Thursday that I was wrong. I thought that the transportation, what they call the TAA, the Transportation Assistance Aid, that I was under the impression that was funded through the tax on auto parts. It turns out that bill never actually passed, and so they're going to work on that. Because right now that TAA account gives us an unpredictable amount of money, somewhere between $0 and $30,000 a year, and $30,000 is not paving anything. It's not really doing anything for streets. So if they get that formula tied to the tax on auto parts, that will bolster that account quite a bit, and then we could see a meaningful disbursement of that every year. So a lot going on in the legislature this year, quite a bit more than I was expecting, honestly, but I will keep giving these updates as I get them, and just try to keep a close eye on this stuff. And I'll bring my very popular legislative recap this summer. So,
We appreciate you doing that for us, Jake.
I just had a quick question for my benefit. What makes a project bondable or not?
well, that's a very interesting question. So as far as capital projects, it's generally, they want to see infrastructure, and like wastewater projects are extremely popular. But transportation projects weren't always allowed, and then things like community centers, public safety buildings, things like that have not historically been allowed. It's meant to be infrastructure all the way, just because this is the one time every 2 years when the state itself takes on the bond to fund it. But so in past years, more and more things have been getting through on the bonding bill, like community centers and things like that. So there aren't really rules. It's just what senators are willing, or senators and representatives are willing to take forward. And we've just seen kind of, well, so we had a project in the governor's list of capital recommendations 3 years ago for a public safety building. There is not our representative would not take that, didn't feel that belonged in the bonding bill. So we, we're sent to look for more infrastructure focused things if we wanted to bond. But so I say that what's suitable and what's not kind of determines on your representative's feelings and if you'll actually get a project in that bill.
We good on that one, guys?